I never thought a simple neighborhood dispute would turn into a full-blown courtroom showdown. It all started with a woman everyone in our community called HOA Karen. She was the self-proclaimed queen of the neighborhood, the kind of person who believed every blade of grass should be the same length and every fence should be painted the same color. But what she didn't know was that her obsession with control would become her own downfall, especially after she crossed the line with my wife. My wife, Emily, is one of the kindest people you'll ever meet. She's gentle, soft-spoken, and despite being in a wheelchair, she never lets her disability define her. What most people don't know, though, is that she's also a brilliant legal mind. She worked as a consultant for one of the biggest law firms in the state before an accident forced her to retire early. But even out of the courtroom, her mind stayed sharp as ever. It all began one summer afternoon when we received a letter from the HOA, signed by none other than Karen herself. According to her, our mailbox was not regulation height and our driveway was aesthetic pollution. It was absurd. We'd lived there for years without a single complaint. But Karen was new to the HOA board, and she seemed determined to make our lives miserable from the start. At first, we ignored her petty letters. Then came the warnings, followed by fines. But it wasn't the money that got to us, it was the way she spoke to my wife. Every time Emily attended HOA meetings, Karen would make snide comments about her not keeping up or needing special treatment. She even said in front of everyone, maybe this neighborhood is just too much work for someone in her condition. That day, I saw the look in Emily's eyes change. She didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. But I knew that it was the look of someone who decided enough was enough. Over the next few weeks, Karen's harassment got worse. She started taking photos of our property, reporting us for violations that didn't even exist. One night, she even trespassed into our yard and left a notice taped to our window demanding that we repaint our fence to match the community color palette. The nerve of that woman. When Emily confronted her the next morning, Karen smirked and said, "Oh, don't waste your energy. You can't handle this community. Maybe sell your house to someone who can keep up with the standards." Emily didn't respond. She just smiled calmly and said, "We'll see you soon, Karen." A week later, a court summons arrived. Apparently, the HO ailed by Karen had filed a civil complaint against us for repeated non-compliance. Karen was trying to take us to court over made-up violations, likely hoping the stress would make us move out. She thought we'd cave. She thought my wife was weak. She couldn't have been more wrong. When the court day arrived, Karen strutted into the courtroom like she owned the place, dressed in an expensive suit. Clutching her binder full of fake evidence, she spotted my wife sitting in her wheelchair and smirked. "Oh," she whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I see she brought moral support instead of a lawyer." That's when Emily calmly rolled forward and placed a stack of legal documents on the defense table. The judge glanced up. "Mrs. Thompson, are you representing yourself today?" Emily nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." Karen's smirk faded slightly, but she still had that smug look of confidence. The HOA's attorney began his opening statement, filled with exaggerated claims about our unruly property and community disruption. Presented pictures Karen had taken most, of which were edited or taken from deceptive angles. When it was Emily's turn to speak, she began with a calm tone. "Your Honor, before I address the false claims, I'd like to draw attention to a more pressing issue: misuse of HOA power and targeted harassment against a disabled homeowner." The entire courtroom went silent. Karen's face froze. Emily continued, her voice steady but firm, presenting every piece of correspondence, every recording, and every false violation notice. She even cited state and federal housing laws that protect disabled residents from discrimination. She pointed out that the HOA bylaws Karen was enforcing hadn't even been properly ratified. Then she turned toward Karen and asked, "Mrs. Reynolds, did you personally approve these fines?" Karen stuttered, "Well, I mean, yes, as president, I have the right, according to the HOA charter. All enforcement actions require board consensus, not unilateral decisions," Emily cut in smoothly. Do you have records of board votes for these actions? Karen fumbled through her binder, unable to find anything. Emily smiled faintly. I didn't think so. The judge leaned back, clearly unimpressed with the HOA's case. Mrs. Reynolds, are you aware that falsifying HOA records or selectively enforcing bylaws can constitute civil harassment? Karen's confidence was crumbling fast. But Emily wasn't done yet. She presented an audio recording when Karen didn't know existed. It was from the last HOA meeting where Karen had mocked Emily's disability, saying, "She can't even mow her own lawn. How's she supposed to follow the rules?" The courtroom gasped. Karen turned pale as the judge glared at her. Mrs. Reynolds, the judge said sternly, this behavior is unacceptable and potentially discriminatory under the Fair Housing Act. Emily didn't gloat. She simply nodded and added all we ever wanted was to live peacefully. But instead, we were harassed, insulted, and targeted because of my condition. Karen tried to interrupt, but the judge raised a hand. Enough. I've heard more than enough. Within minutes, the judge dismissed the HOA's case entirely and ordered Karen to pay our legal fees despite the fact that Emily had represented herself. He also ordered an investigation into the HOA's actions for discrimination and misuse of authority. As the gavel struck, Karen looked like she'd seen a ghost. Her perfect little world had just crumbled in front of everyone. Outside the courtroom, she tried to approach Emily, her voice trembling. Listen, I didn't mean Emily stopped her. Karen, the thing about power is it reveals who you really are. Maybe next time, try using it for good. With that, she wheeled away, head high, while Karen stood speechless in the hallway. A month later, Karen was removed from her position as HOA president. The investigation revealed that she'd been using HOA funds for personal expenses and had issued dozens of false fines to other residents too. The entire neighborhood turned against her. Ironically, it was Emily who later helped the new HOA board rewrite their bylaws this time, fairly and legally. People who once stayed silent started thanking her for standing up. One neighbor even said, "You gave us our neighborhood back." Life slowly returned to normal. Our mailbox stayed the same, our fence stayed the same, but something far greater had changed: the respect people had for my wife. Every time I look at her now, I can't help but smile. She didn't need strength to stand. She had the power of her mind. And as for Karen, she sold her house a few months later and moved away. Rumor has it she tried joining another HOA, but after what happened, no one wanted her in charge again. Sometimes the best revenge isn't shouting or fighting, it's letting the truth destroy the lies. And that's exactly what Emily did. She showed everyone that real power doesn't come from control, it comes from character. So the next time someone underestimates you, remember my wife's words: never mistake kindness for weakness. Sometimes, the quietest person in the room is the most dangerous one to cross. This is States of Heart, where true stories meet justice, resilience, and karma served cold.